So to round out our analysis of customers, we'll talk about how they go about adopting products. And the thing is, customers go through phases depending on the maturity of the product and where they're at. Now, in reference to the question we had from the last lecture, what it comes down to is that when you cut price, you create a reference point. And once that reference point gets out, you have a hard time trying to raise prices up again. Again, price is the most emotional component of the marketing mix. And so what it comes down to is, if you can at all avoid it, don't cut price. I mean, you're better off in a lot of ways just giving it away to free to someone to try it rather than cut price, because once you set that reference point, as we've seen, they're very powerful things. So how do we go about getting adoption? And what adoption is, it's a process about time and understanding how a product changes. So today we're going to talk about the adoption process, how we do forecasting, how do customers become aware of us, trying it, inducing them, and finally the chasm. And this is a phenomena that happens with technology products. The people who adopt your products earliest aren't necessarily that easy to get over into the next phase. And so the fundamentals of all of this is that your customer is going to change over your time. Your product is also going to change over your time depending on who your customer is. And my customer also changes with the situation. There's always context in the background that you have to be aware of. And how do I get people to act? The adoption process has 4 parts: awareness, interest, consideration, and then finally inducement. That's how they buy my product. This is the journey that I take my customer on. A lot depends on context events. Who is my customer? Am I dealing with an individual? Am I dealing with businesses? Am I dealing with governments? Different criterias. And also a network effect. And network effects are dependent on P and Q. And what P is, what's the probability that somebody will try my product? And what Q is that given that somebody is using my product, what's the probability that someone else will use it based on someone else? And this is what's referred to as the BAS model. And Metcalfe's law for networks states that powerful network scales about n-1 squared. And the more users you have, the more powerful a network. Now, supposing I have only one cell phone user, the network power is 0 because I have nobody to call. And so when you think about P and Q, what do you have to do to make people want to try something? And in terms of network effects, when somebody's using it, how do you get other people to use it? And that's when you're starting to talk about influencers. When you look at the shape of the curve, and here's some patterns of electronic development, one thing you'll notice, in the middle, the curve goes flat. And this is what's called the chasm, that you get very fast growth initially. And then it becomes harder to finally get more people to buy into your product. And the curve kind of has an S shape to it, where it starts to mature. This is the equation of the BAS model. I'm not going to quiz you on this or anything. It's just more for completeness, so you can see what actually goes into this model. The strengths and weaknesses of it is that it's actually good at prediction. UCLA business student did an analysis in the early days of the internet when you had CompuServe and all these other internet service providers. And according to the BAS model, AOL was going to grow like gangbusters. So he took like his $25,000 of life savings, invested all in AOL stock, and ended up making like, I don't know, $7 million or something like that. The other power of the BAS model is, in the absence of data, if you want to predict how something's going to grow, you can find analogies. For example, AM to FM radio, the adoption is very similar to analog TV to HD TV. Basically, higher fidelity product. There are weaknesses to it. You need data. there's only one inflection point, and with new products you can have more than one inflection point. An inflection point is basically when it goes flat, and it can go down or it can go up. So my first step through this journey of adopting is that I want my customer to be aware of me. And so there's a phenomena in digital products, and also describes pretty much any product, about richness or reach. Richness is that I have that great personal experience, and reach is that I touch a lot of people. And what happens is, as you can see with reach, you tend not to get richness, and you have something rich, like in a brick and mortar store you can actually talk to people, or sales reps or something like that. The holy grail is to get both, and that's what they're trying to do today with digital marketing, because you have reach with digital marketing. Now you need to get the richness. The thing is, companies, like for example, small businesses, restaurants, tend to rely more on richness. Mass market products tend to rely more on reach. In terms of interest, how do we line up with the customer's values? And this is a summary of basically entire lecture 1.3. Everything we talked about it is actually on this one page. We talked about the different value parameters that people are interested, whether it's product, price, access, and emotion. How do we connect with people? The experience that they have. Do they feel fulfilled? Again, it touches in Maslow. And so the thing you see about product functions is it's mostly connected to Maslow and values. I think this is a good place to break, and we'll pick this up in the next video.